Attention public relations and training executives. Would you like to find the ideal media training firm to give your executives effective media and spokesperson skills without wasting time on ineffective training techniques, even if your clients have varying degrees of media experience and skill? Hi, it's TJ Walker along with my colleague Jess Todfeld. In this video, we're going to show you how PR executives and training executives can find the right media training firm for your clients. Of course, you want what's best for your clients and executives in your company. You want them to learn new skills so that your executives exude confidence and credibility when representing your organization in the media. You want your spokespersons to come across as knowledgeable and trustworthy during interviews. And you want your executives to feel comfortable and in control during media interactions. You need your executives to effectively communicate your key messages and talking points during media interviews, and you really need them to be able to handle tough questions and stay composed under pressure. But there are other issues at play here. More on that in a moment. Jess and I have been in the media training industry for more than 25 years, and we've worked with thousands of people in your shoes. Finding the right media training solution for your clients or executives is a delicate thing. Of course, your clients care about money, but there's something they care about even more: their time. So if you select a training firm or a media trainer who waste their time, they're going to be extremely unhappy with you. Let's face it, your credibility is on the line. If you pick an ineffective media training firm and then schedule a TV interview for your client and the interview goes poorly, you could get the blame, as unfair as that is. One of the biggest dangers of all with media training is that everything seems to go well. Everyone has a good time because it's interesting and there's role playing, and it's a lot more fun than a day of Microsoft Excel training. Unfortunately, your team could go through media training and not actually get any better when it comes to handling themselves in media interviews or getting the specific results you want, getting your corporate messages into the final story, sticking to your brand's messages and themes. In this video, I want to give you a little guidance on common problems with media training and how you can work to avoid them. Problem number one: hiring an incredibly interesting, fascinating, experienced media trainer who loves the sound of their own voice. Many media trainers are former journalists who have a wealth of war stories, and they're personally great at talking on camera and communicating to the media. And they're giving great advice to your clients. The problem is the entire session is finished and the all-knowing media trainer has spent the majority of the time talking and giving advice. The sad reality is nobody gets better at media skills by listening to advice. You may be thinking, well, that won't happen to me. I'll only hire trainers who get our people on camera several times. Well, here's the number one insight we've gained after conducting 10,000 in-person media training workshops all around the world over the last 25 years, and having trained 2 million online students. Drum roll, please. This is important. Practicing a media interview with an executive on camera and critiquing it 1 time, 2 times, even 3 times doesn't create a new skill. It doesn't create lasting change or new habits. Getting people on camera several times is fun. It enhances their intellectual understanding of the process, but they leave the day of training overwhelmed with a sense of what they don't like, their own flaws. They still hate their voice, or they don't know what to do with their hands. But bear with me, I'm not saying don't record executives in a training, but the real breakthrough for executives comes after they have seen themselves on camera at least 12 times in a day, or spread out over several sessions. The only way to make this happen is to have the trainer spend less time talking. There's an art to it and there's a skill to it. But the bottom line is this: your executives need to complete a training, whether it's a 1-day training or an 8-week program, with a clear-cut role model for themselves. And the role model can't be me or some other media trainer or even Oprah Winfrey. The role model has to be themselves. They have to have seen a video of themselves looking great, coming across comfortable, confident, delivering fantastic messages, and speaking in sound bites. A trainer who can do that is a trainer who will not just make your clients look good, but make you look good as well. So my recommendation to you, if you're going to interview a lot of media training firms, is to ask them how many times in a day do they get your people on camera and critiqued. If it's not at least 10 times for each person, I would scratch them off your list if you really want good results for your clients. So a little about me and Jess. We've been conducting media training for more than 25 years. We've had thousands of PR executives and training department executives just like you put their trust in us. We've been hired by major corporations, training departments, and PR firms all over the world, including top PR firms like Edelman and Rubenstein and Ketchum to train their valued clients. Major banks, energy companies, healthcare companies, and publicly traded technology companies hire us to train their spokespersons and top CEOs. We've also had more than 5,000 corporations and PR firms around the world use our online media training and presentation skills courses for their executives. The real value of our experience is that we've worked with people at every single skill level to help transform them to become their very best. And we've also developed a skill set that allows us to work with a dozen people in one room in one day, where everybody has different experience levels and skill levels and confidence levels, and to help all of them make the most advancement they can in one day. That's difficult to do, and it took more than 10 years to develop. You've got to find a media training firm that really helps you achieve your true goals, not just what your executives say they want. Quite often, spokespersons and executives will say they simply want to be more comfortable with the interview process, or become less nervous, or familiar with interviewing. Those are all fine, but that's not really what good media training is all about. Every reputable media trainer looks at this through the lens of the client and what their true goals are. And when you get right down to it, there are 4 goals your clients and your colleagues have, regardless of whether they articulate them. Number 1, they want to feel confident, comfortable, and relaxed, and actually look comfortable, confident, relaxed anytime they're on camera. Number 2, they want to have clear, concise, and compelling messages for any interview, preferably no more than 3 messages. Number 3, they need to have the skills and tactics to answer questions in an interview. Any question in an interview, even the tough and hostile questions. And number 4, they need to know how to package their messages in quotable sound bites so that they know in advance what quotes will be inserted into the text stories, what sound bites will make it into TV or video or audio programs. Everything comes down to this bottom line. Did your clients get the exact messages and quotes into the final story that they planned in advance? It's actually very bottom line oriented. Many media training firms simply don't buy into this philosophy. They come at it on their own hobby horse. Many media trainers come from an acting background, so they spend a lot of time talking about their emotions and getting their clients to talk about emotions and feelings and creating new personas. It's really fun for the trainer. The problem is most business executives hate sitting around talking about their feelings, and it's a complete waste of time. If you look at this through the lens of you getting the messages you want into the final story, don't lose track of that. Other trainers are voice experts, so they'll spend a tremendous amount of time helping people speak with a deeper and more modulated voice. Again, for the most part, a complete waste of time. If the right messages don't come out of your spokesperson's mouth and no good sound bites come out, the interview was a waste of time. Other trainers come into this with a focus on body language. Yes, of course you need to eliminate awkward body language and weird distractions, but you can have the best body language in the world. If you have bad messages or no messages, all of your media interviews are going to be a complete waste of time. The next pitfall is using a training firm that puts a lot of emphasis on the production values in the actual setting of the training. Small fortunes are sometimes spent by booking large TV studios and giant TV network cameras to create a more realistic setting for the trainee. Expert journalists are brought in to ask extra tough questions. Elaborate simulations are created with other reporters bursting through the door. It's all great fun, and it can create a memorable day. But here's the thing. There's actually no evidence to suggest this helps your executives perform more effectively when they're in a real interview. It's actually possible to do a fantastic media training in a small generic conference room with a simple cell phone. It's also possible to do a horribly ineffective media training in a giant TV studio with state-of-the-art cameras and a cast of actors and freelance journalists playing different roles. Let me ask you, have you ever faced these challenges when you're thinking about the training needs of your clients and your executives? Things like, our executives often come across as nervous or unsure during media interviews. We need help in developing their confidence and ability to effectively communicate key messages. Our executives struggle with staying on message and handling difficult questions for the media. We are concerned about how our executives handle media inquiries during a crisis. Our executives struggle with delivering consistent messages across different platforms. We need assistance in aligning our executives' messaging to ensure a unified brand. These are all real concerns that must be addressed. Let's clear up a few other misconceptions about media training right now. There's nothing special at all about a media trainer who video records and gives feedback to your executives. Roughly 99% do that. If you do find a media trainer who says, "Oh, I don't video record people, we just talk," it makes them nervous if they're recorded, then you need to run for the hills. This person is going to be a colossal waste of time for your executives and will ruin your reputation in the process. There's also a mistaken notion about the value of giving everyone a video record of their on-camera practices. People promote this like it's some big perk, and it's actually completely meaningless. The value of recording someone in a rehearsal only comes from instantly watching it and then figuring out what they did well so they can do more of it, and also figuring out what needs improvement so they can make adjustments. It needs to be instant. Sure, people like taking souvenirs home, and for years I gave out VHS tapes and DVDs and even hard drives, but I can tell you nobody ever goes back to them and looks at them months or years later. The real value of video recording mock interviews is to get your executives into the habit of doing video rehearsals before every interview. But the rehearsals need to be done the day before and even the day of an interview. Referring back to the media training practice session video from 6 months ago is a completely worthless aim in my professional opinion. If anything I'm saying here seems to make sense to you, and if you'd like to talk in more detail about the best media training solution for your clients or your firm, please click the link you see below to book a call with us. I know one of your concerns is finding a training firm that works with your busy schedules and can adapt to the specific needs of your clients and your industry. That's why it's important not to deal with a firm that says, "We only do 2-day trainings," or "There can only be a maximum of 4 people." You've got to use a firm that uses every single technology to help your clients learn the fastest way possible, but also in the most flexible and efficient way possible. That means you can still do in-person, face-to-face, day-long, or even 3-day workshops, but increasingly we're finding the best results come from a blended hybrid training experience that's completely flexible to your client's needs. This means a combination of watching video on demand, attending live virtual coaching sessions through Zoom, recording themselves with their own webcams or cell phones, and getting detailed, and I mean detailed, video critiques by a trained media professional. There has to be a clear-cut journey where people know where they start and where they want to end up, and they have to be held accountable to do the work. And if that means they have to do homework on their own time at 8 a.m. Saturday morning with their own cell phone, that can work too. Some people get the most out of the live coaching session when they're in the hot seat. But you need a training firm that can give you and your team access to all modern technology tools to make this transformation come about with the least friction possible, to get the best results possible for you and your clients. I also urge you to look for a training firm that has a true collaborative approach. I know that sounds like jargon and meaningless buzzwords, but many people in the media training field are former journalists and talk show hosts, and they're used to being the star. They like the spotlight. So when they get hired for a day or two of media training, they use this as an opportunity to relive their glory days. They spend a lot of time demonstrating the best possible way of doing things. The problem is it's interesting for others, but it just doesn't really help your clients get better in their own media skills. These trainers insist on asking all the questions in the simulations. They make the case that they have unique skills and talents in asking tough questions. Sure, they do. However, since you work with the clients and you work in your industry, you know the toughest questions of all. You already know the tough questions. If more than one person is being trained in a day, it's far more effective to switch roles and let the other trainees be the mock journalist for a simulated exercise. There are even some trainers who insist on being the only person in the room with the executive being trained. They want to lock you out. Well, this might be more convenient for your schedule, but it's a huge red flag. A confident and self-assured media trainer will want you and anyone else involved in the communications process in the room when the training's going on to provide valuable feedback. And please, don't let anyone fool you by saying, "Oh, we don't want other people in the room. It might make the client nervous." Please, if they can't think and speak in front of a handful of their own colleagues, how are they going to be able to answer questions, especially tough questions on live national TV or at a press conference when there's 1,000 times more pressure? The absolute most effective media trainers in the world often are more like conductors of a symphony. You don't hear much from them, but they make everyone else look good. Make sure you find a media trainer who wants you involved in the training process and the other trainees involved. If everyone in the training room isn't standing up and speaking on camera at least once an hour, then you have a real problem on your hands. It's going to be boring for people, and it's going to turn the whole exercise into an intellectual learning process, not an actual experiential skill building or transformational process. Next, you need to find a media trainer who has supreme confidence and good judgment. Confidence is needed because if you have a high status executive, for example, a CEO who's known as a powerful billionaire, it can be intimidating. So if you have a media trainer who comes in sort of overly deferential and too polite, you aren't training that CEO for the inevitable tough questions they're likely to receive from a mainstream high-profile journalist. Nor will they be prepared if there's ever a crisis and tough questions come quickly. Judgment is critical. If you have a client who's running for a high-profile political office and is likely to be subjected to withering attacks from highly ideological talk show hosts, then the media trainer needs to be able to quickly assume the role of a highly obnoxious, opinionated, and interrupting talk show host. This is extremely uncomfortable for most people to do. A good trainer does it because it's essential for that particular client in that particular situation to be prepared that way. However, if your client is a children's cookbook author, it would be needlessly provocative to simulate an author like that going on a highly political AM talk radio show being shouted at. Some media trainers give everyone exactly the same treatment. Every client gets the same thing because they're comfortable with it. They're used to it and it's fun for them, even though it's a waste of time for your client. Money. Of course you worry about money. Everyone wants to get the best value they can. And saving money is always important. Additionally, media training is not something that's typically put into annualized budgets. It has to be found somewhere. But keep in mind, media training is, in some respects, like anything else. You do get what you pay for. You can buy a car for $200, you can buy a car for $1 million. You don't expect the same results. If your budget for media training is the same or less as the travel budget or the food budget, then you're saying this isn't really very important. If you're spending $3 million for a Super Bowl ad, you don't typically limit production expenses for the ad to a few $1,000s. That would be penny wise and pound foolish. Similarly, if you have a lot of resources devoted to guarding the reputation of your organization in the media, and you spend a lot of time getting the media interviews, it's again penny wise and pound foolish not to spend what it takes to make sure your spokespersons are great every time they go in front of a reporter. Finally, it's important to keep in mind that any media trainer you hire may be called upon to become a psychologist, an executive coach, and career coach for your executives. That's why it's often helpful to find someone who's outside of the normal public relations team or training team. A little distance can be helpful. The reason for this is that your executives being trained are human beings. They might appear to everyone else to be successful and really have their stuff together, to be the epitome of confidence, but everyone has insecurities. Everyone has certain issues they're uncomfortable with. And speaking to the media, especially speaking on video in front of a camera, it brings out a tremendous amount of anxiety and insecurity in people, even ones you would think never have any confidence issues. Jess and I have had clients tell us they can't sleep at night before a major big interview, but they didn't want anyone on their team to know, and they wanted advice from us. We've had successful billionaire mutual fund managers tell us that they take beta blocker drugs before CNBC interviews, and they want to know how to get off those and just be naturally confident. I've had executives ask me whether their toupee was obvious and whether they should get rid of it. One senator even asked me for advice on whether he should get plastic surgery to hide his turkey neck. I showed him a way to lean forward to hide that and saved him about $10,000 on plastic surgery charges. These are not conversations that they want to have with their own PR team or in-house training executives. This is why it's crucial to find a media trainer who you think your executives would be comfortable with and would respect. Also, it pays to be skeptical of many media trainers. If they claim to be able to teach your clients and colleagues how to speak on camera, why are they giving you a written proposal in text? You're not asking them to teach your executives how to write. They should be communicating to you and practicing what they preach. Also, if they're going to teach your executives how to communicate effectively on social media in places like YouTube, then check out their YouTube channel. In fact, you should go to YouTube and type in media training and see if they show up on the first page. If they don't, might be a clue and a problem. Find their channel. If the last time they posted was 4 years ago, that tells you something. So I hope you found some of these insights helpful. If you'd like to figure out the ideal solution for your media training needs, then I urge you to click the link below and schedule a time to speak with me and Jess. If we think we're not a good fit for you and your team, we'll tell you. We may send you to another firm. We may give you some of our online courses for free if we think that's really the best solution for you. Regardless, there's no cost for the call. It's a consultation. We don't work with everyone, but if there is a good fit here, we'll let you know. I know you're probably not looking to book more Zoom calls in your life, but your time is valuable, and simply going through the internet and looking at websites that all kind of say the same thing is taking up your valuable time. And it's not really getting you any closer to finding the ideal media training solution for your clients and your colleagues. So let's roll up our sleeves together and have an honest conversation and figure out what's best for you. So go ahead, click the link below and book time. I look forward to speaking with you.